Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Unquestionably Raw podcast. Tonight, Matt and myself are previewing the San Antonio Spurs 2016-2017 season. So, Matt, going to you with the first question. Let's look at the starting five, or at least the proposed starting five. It's going to be Tony Parker, of course, at point guard, Danny Green at the 2, Kawhi Leonard playing the 3, LaMarcus Aldridge at power forward, and then Pau Gasol at center. What do you look for out of each guy in the starting lineup this year?
Well, first, here we go. Gatorade Propel. Today, we have a new flavor for you. We have Black Cherry.
Nice. Gatorade, get on it, and you need to go ahead and sponsor us. We really appreciate it, and we'll Propel and Gatorade, whatever products you have.
Yeah, we'll every episode, we will promote for you. Tony Parker, I mean, we know what he's going to do. For the most part. I mean, how effective is he going to be this year, though? How many minutes? Because he's getting up there in age. What is he now, 34? Did not have the greatest season last year. Then a shooting guard, Danny Green. If he can find his three-point shot again this year, which I think he'll be able to. I think he just had a bad year last year. You know what? He's going to provide great shooting and defense. You know, probably their second-best perimeter defender behind Kawhi Leonard. Really does a good job against Curry, actually. I think he's guarded Curry better than Kawhi has. Then Kawhi Leonard, obviously, top 10 player in the league, best overall defender in the league, great three-point shooter now. Just a fantastic player. LaMarcus Aldridge, you know, he can step out, make some threes. He's going to rebound. You know, another top 20 player in the NBA. Pau Gasol, still great offensive player, one of the best passing bigs in the league still. Going to lose a little bit defensively, though, even from Duncan last year, even though Duncan was older. Pau's not exactly the greatest defender anymore. He can still block some shots. He'll still rebound, but they will lose a little bit on the defensive end. Offensively, I think they will be better. You know, and we'll touch on the analytics in a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I think offensively they'll be better.
Yeah, I think the major concern for me is going to be the health of Tony Parker. Can he, withstand the season and remain healthy throughout? Every year it seems like he gets a little bit nagging injury somewhere along the line. Like you said, Danny Green's going to have to make sure he's consistent with the shot. Kawhi Leonard, nothing needs to be said there. I mean, top 10 player, he's going to have his game on this season. LaMarcus Aldridge, the rumors came out that the Spurs could possibly deal him the season. He doesn't seem to be happy, so to speak, according to reports of being kind of behind Kawhi Leonard. It was rumored that the Spurs told him that he would kind of be the guy as they transitioned away from Tim Duncan, and that has not happened. I don't know how Aldridge thought that was going to be the case with Kawhi Leonard there, but
I can see, because we didn't know Kawhi. Like, we knew Kawhi Leonard was going to be a really, really good player. Nobody thought he was going to be second MVP voting last year. We didn't think he would be like that superstar status level type guy. So I could see why LaMarcus Aldridge thought that. And the Spurs may not have anticipated Kawhi really breaking out like he did. I think that's possible.
Possible, yeah, absolutely. Aldridge, I mean, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get, decent consistency with him. The question's going to be up front on the defensive end with Aldridge and now Gasol. Who stops the rim? Who stops the rim?
Well, Pau can block some shots still. He still will block shots, but I don't think guys are scared of him but he's not like what he used to be. He's not the most nimble person in the world anymore.
Exactly. So they're going to count on the key reserves, which segues us right into the reserves. You've got Manu Ginobili, Patty Mills, Kyle Anderson, then Dwayne Dedmon coming over. He's going to be your rim protector. Davis Bertans, David Lee, and then you've got a couple guys sprinkled in that are going to be more the end of the bench guys. Deontay Murray, Livio Jean Charles, who I think is not an NBA player. Jonathan Simmons, who played well last year in spots. So what do you think of those guys, Matt?
Manu Ginobili, he's 39 years old now. So, I mean, I guess they're going to just hope he can give them maybe 15, 20 minutes a game of half of what he used to be able to do. Because you saw last year, there were times he looked like Manu, then there were times he just looked like doo-doo. That's just age. It's just age. It's not his fault. Patty Mills kind of had a disappointing season last year, so hopefully he can bounce back because he was really good in the playoffs the year before, and so hopefully he'll be back. And I like Kyle Anderson, slow-mo. I think he'll be able to fill that Boris Diaw role. Hopefully he's expanded his range and he can step out and hit that three because we know he's actually very similar to Diaw, can handle the ball, very good passer. In college played point guard, high school. So I think he'll be able to do that. And Bertans, I believe it's Bertans is the guy that Popovich was talking about. Like, this guy's not afraid to shoot the ball.
Absolutely.
He just likes to shoot. So I like that mentality. I won't lie. And David Lee, another solid veteran, NBA champion. So you know what he'll bring. I like Murray. I think he could. If Mills struggles, Murray may be one of those guys that could push him for that backup point guard spot at some point this year. Because we know how the Spurs draft. Their drafts are always good. They get these guys late at the end of the first round, second to last, or last pick of the first round, and they always become good players. So I don't see why Murray won't be that next guy. And I like Simmons. Always got to represent my Houston, Texas guys.
Yeah, Simmons brings
super athletic.
Yeah, a lot of energy, athleticism. He can score if he needs to. Hopefully, as Manu transitions out more than likely this season, Simmons will be able to step into a backup role in the rotation next year and really show some things. Dejounte Murray, very good pick in my opinion. I think he's going to be one of the steals of the draft, especially next season. I don't know this season how much he's counted on to do very much, but he's going to learn a lot under Tony Parker and, of course, Greg Popovich. David Lee, he has a good couple game spurts and then, kind of shits the bed, so to speak.
I think he's probably there more so because, Powell's going to miss some games. Aldridge will miss a few. He's kind of there in case of injuries. And when Greg Popovich inevitably rests guys, you still got David Lee who can step in. He can still give you, if he gets good minutes, he can still give you 14 points, 8-9 rebounds.
Yeah, I think that's what the Spurs are counting on.
Yeah.
Basically, he's a replacement for David West, essentially. Dwayne Dedmon, I'm intrigued by him. I'd actually, in all honesty, I'd bring Powell off the bench and start Dedmon because we've got Dedmon as a rim protector.
That's a good idea.
Go for it?
No.
But in my mind, I would say start Dedmon only for the rim protection. Start him for the first 10 minutes a game, pull him out. Powell's the first sub in. Ginobili's right behind him. I really like that because it gives you that rim protection.
Yeah, and in the second unit, it's a lot like with Memphis. Powell's going to destroy second units offensively.
Exactly. I think that would be a good strategy. I don't know if Spurs fans of you agree with me on that one, but I think that in my mind would be key to kind of preserving Powell as the season moves on as well. Ginobili, you know what you're going to get from him. Patty Mills is going to light it up scoring-wise. Just want to make sure that he's consistent. And then Kyle Anderson, just like you, Matt, I'm intrigued because he has that slowness, a.k.a. slow-mo, game about him, but he can kind of score if he needs to. Not a lot of people know about him and what he can do, but he can handle the ball, get you assists, and he can score whenever he wants to.
And there's a reason this was a top 10 ranked player in high school. He can play. And here's the thing with him. We talk about D'Angelo Russell not getting to the spots he wants to. Slow-mo gets to the spots he wants to get to. As slow as he is, he gets where he wants to on the floor, and you saw it a little last night with Russell. He was struggling getting to certain spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And Davis Bertans, lights out over in Europe. He had a couple knee surgeries, so it kind of slowed him down. But he's going to seamlessly fill that Matt Bonner role. And he actually has, a very, very, very good three-point shot. So I look for him to be a high percentage shooter off the bench, somebody that Popovich relies on a good bit. And then the final guy off the bench, I just don't think he's an NBA player in the slightest, is Livio Jean-Charles, who they drafted a couple years ago. He looks even less than a D-leaguer. He's not even on a D-league level right now. I just don't think the experience coming over from France is enough.
You never know, though, because, and I'll be the first to say this, and it's going to sound crazy now, but coming out of college, I didn't think Eric Bledsoe was an NBA player.
Wow.
I thought he was going to be trash in the NBA.
Okay.
I admit I was wrong about that. So I tried not to write too many guys off, because I've been wrong before.
Right. I don't – everything I've seen from him, he's not developed any kind of skill that he can go to. And defensively, it's bad. So that brings us to kind of the 15th spot, and you've got Nico Laparlatova, who's a point guard, brought in, very heady. He's looked good this preseason. Sharpshooter Bryn Forbes, and then you've got Joel Anthony, who's a veteran center, all vying for that 15th spot. Do you which one of those guys do you think makes it, or do you think all three are cut?
I honestly, I mean, if somebody makes it, maybe Joel Anthony, but I'm just going to throw this out there just because I like his name. I want to see Nicola Laparvatola. He's got a cool name.
Yeah, he's actually looked really good. He's able to score, he can defend, and he's a willing passer as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a bunch of looks overseas previously. Those kind of dried up, so I think that, he would be the most likely to make the team. The only worriment the Spurs are going to have is if Bryn Forbes gets picked up by another team, because, man, he can shoot the three. He can't do anything else, but he can shoot the three. He's just like a Troy Daniels, can't do much else.
Which is why he's
on the offensive end.
Greg Popovich's system, because he can't defend.
Yeah, but Bryn Forbes, man, he's a very good shooter. And Joe Anthony, I just don't. I could see it happening from the veteran point of view, but I just don't think that you take a chance on Anthony and let those other two go. So Nico is probably my pick for making the team. Bryn Forbes, if somehow they dump Livio Jean-Charles, I'd love to see Bryn Forbes make it. But Charles is owed $2.5 million over the next 2 years, so I don't know how much they're willing to eat a contract for that. So, Matt, looking at the Spurs, how does losing Tim Duncan affect the team this year?
I think I don't know how it's gonna. I don't know if it's gonna be huge, but you lose this veteran leadership. I mean, the guy's one of the best, greatest power forward of all time, top 10 player of all time. Obviously, even though he hasn't been great, the last year, you definitely saw him fall off big time this year. Still a top defending guy in the league, though, and I think that's where they're going to hurt him the most, and in the locker room. Because, from all accounts, he's a quiet guy, but in the locker room and stuff, he really lets guys have it. I think the locker room presence and defensively is going to be where their biggest loss is going to be. And so I can see this team taking, as great as Kawhi is, they're going to take a step back in defense, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Defense is the main concern I have. And secondly, just, to echo what you said is the leadership. I mean, you can't have a classier guy in the NBA. Just leads by example, and the Spurs are really going to miss him. I know LaMarcus Aldridge is a very good offensive power forward, but defensively you're going to miss a lot there, even with Pau Gasol in the lineup. Even, a combination of three guys couldn't make up what you're missing with Tim Duncan. So it's going to be a big gap there defensively, just like you said. So that actually brings us to that's, I guess, one of their weaknesses is going to be defense. But
yeah,
a couple of your strengths and weaknesses for the Spurs.
Strength, obviously, coaching. They got the best coach in the NBA. We know Popovich is. I wouldn't say defense is necessarily a weakness, maybe compared to what their defense was last year. But they're still going to be a top 10 defense, especially with Popovich. His schemes, the guy he can coach a slow down game. He can coach a more up tempo game. So I think, obviously, offensively, they're still going to be very good. I think they're going to be slightly better just because Powell offensively is an upgrade over Tim Duncan. And Powell's not a selfish guy, so he'll fit seamlessly into that Spurs offense. Won't take much time for adjustment. Weaknesses, the biggest weakness for them probably is age.
Yeah.
A lot of their key guys, Powell, Tony Parker, Ginobili, even LaMarcus Aldridge is getting up there in age. He's in his 30s now. These are David Lee. These rotations, Danny Green's in his 30s. They're all older guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
The window's closing for these guys.
Absolutely. I think one of their weaknesses could be cohesion, especially in the sense that you've got Pau Gasol new, you've got a couple younger guys there that are new. Of course, you're going to get tight cohesion with Leonard and Aldridge and Danny Green, some of those guys. But I wonder how the guys like Gasol, how he's going to fit in, how some of the younger guys are going to be able to fit in, Bertans and Anderson playing a bigger role. That, to me, could end up being a weakness at the beginning of the season. But having Greg Popovich there as their biggest strength, in my opinion, is going to have them polished in time for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, to me, it's going to be ball movement. They're going to just have to make sure they keep moving the ball around, get shots for guys, especially a rhythm shooter like a Danny Green.
Yeah.
If he's struggling, make sure you're getting him shots to keep him fed, keep him, from going cold throughout the season. And just stagger Tony Parker's minutes because you want to keep him healthy for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Same with Pau Gasol. You can stagger his minutes. You've got some backups. You can move Aldridge to the 5 if you need to a little bit. Have Bertans in there as a stretch 4. So you've got some options. Even Kyle Anderson can play the 4. So that's kind of what I look for there. Which individual player do you think is most vital to the Spurs' success this season?
I think it's got to be Tony Parker. Because, he without Duncan, you lose the veteran leadership. And he kind of is going to make everything go for him. You could see last year, and especially what he needs to do, hopefully, he can get back to that borderline, just a borderline all-star form again. And I think he can do that. If he can get back to that, then this, they're going to be a very good basketball team regardless. Popovich will find a way to make it work. But I think Tony Parker is the key for these guys.
Okay. I've got Kawhi Leonard being their key because I think that another year of growth, I think he's going to be able to push them forward, cement himself as the leader of the team. What I look for out of Leonard is not try to do too much. Rely on your teammates, focus on the defense, and focus on that corner 3 on offense, and he'll be fine. But I think just taking that leadership role in the locker room and really pushing guys is going to be vital there because he's going to want to get the most he can out of Gasol, some of the rookies and things like that. So I think Kawhi just establishing that defense even more and just being a more vocal presence is going to be most key. So looking at the expectations, pretty much the Spurs know they're right there in the hunt for the 2 spot. I don't know how much they're carrying right now to catch Golden State because their focus is always having a successful playoff run. Where do you have the Spurs finishing, and how far do they go in the playoffs this year?
Well, as you know, if you would have asked me this 2 days ago, I'd have had the Spurs number 1. But after now watching Golden State, I'll say it now, it would have been my bold prediction coming up but it's not anymore. My prediction was 58 wins for the Golden State Warriors. They're going to do better than that. So I've got the Spurs at number 2. For me, I could see them getting upset in the first round. I mean, depending on who they play, if they play like I think I have Portland 7th. I could see Portland knocking them out. I would not be shocked. I'm going to go they'll make it to the second round, and that's it. I think they're done in the second round. But I would not be shocked if a team like Portland beat them in the first round.
Okay. I've got the Spurs 2nd. I think they're right there. They could fall as low as 3rd. It just all depends on how much Popovich wants to rest guys. I don't really see the reality of falling 3rd happening, but Popovich is known to kind of sit his guys a good bit, and they're worried about playoffs. They're not worried about where they finish in the regular season. Hell, they could finish 7th for all they care and end up still, pushing through to the conference finals against the Warriors. Their main focus is health for the playoffs. If I had to look at it, I could see them just based on matchups, just like you said. I don't know first round that they get knocked out unless they play a team that falls like a, Houston or Portland that might, be able to run up and down a little bit better. But I would say they probably at least get to the second round. Just all depends on matchups right now. In no way, shape, or form do I see them knocking off the Warriors. The Warriors are just too hard to beat on paper right now, unless they just totally don't gel. Not many teams are going to upset the Warriors this season. I don't think they break the record that they broke last season. I don't think they get 74 wins or anything like that. But going back to the Spurs, I don't think they care about even winning 60 games this year. Just health is going to be the main focus. So,
and I want to add on this. Hey, there's an echo.
Okay.
I want to add. I want to talk pace for the Spurs this year. They're going to have to. I think last year they were 28th in pace, which is interesting because the year before they were 15th in pace. And then offensive rating, they're still good. They were, offensively, they were 5th in offensive rating, number 1 in defensive rating. I think offensive rating will probably stay around the same, maybe slightly improve. Defensively, they're going to drop a little bit. But it'll be interesting. Are they going to stay with older guys now getting Powell? They didn't really get – he's not exactly the fastest guy, and are they going to just, slow it down on offense and use the entire shot clock? Or are you going to see more of what you saw 2 years ago and the year they won the championship where they played at a little faster pace? And I don't mean running up and down the floor like we talked last night. Pace does not mean just sprinting up and down the floor and making it a track meet. It's just taking quicker shots within the offense. The first good shot you get, you take it. Or are they going to be more like last year where they really work the ball around a lot until they get the shot they want?
Absolutely. That's the key, just playing their game. They're going to slow it down on some teams depending on, a nightly basis. They're also going to count on some of those young guys, though. And I think, Bertans is able to stretch the floor. He's going to be an asset. Slow-Mo is going to get more playing time. He's going to be an asset. So those younger guys sprinkled in there are going to have to definitely step in. Dejounte Murray, I could see him kind of getting some good minutes mid-season just to kind of get him ready for maybe next year because Patty Mills is going to end up being a free agent. So you want to make sure you're kind of establishing a role for him early. So give me a bold prediction, Matt, that you've got for the Spurs this year.
Well, I'm going to say it's going to piss San Antonio Spurs fans off because I know Spurs fans, you see them on Twitter, they will defend the Spurs all day long. They'll defend Kawhi Leonard is like so much better than Paul George and all that garbage. But I have him ranked ahead of Paul George, but he's not that much better than Paul George. Kawhi Leonard's never had to carry a team by himself with no help like Paul George has. But with that said, I'm going to call it. Portland knocks San Antonio out in the first round this year.
Wow.
San Antonio goes home in the first round.
Wow, that's definitely bold. I wasn't going to go quite as bold. They won 67 games last season. I don't see that happening. I don't think they care about 67 wins for this season. I could see them right there in the 56, 57 win range. I think that's more than enough to get them that second seed, because the closest teams last year were the Thunder at 55 games, Clippers at 53. I think they're both going to kind of take a step back in wins. So the Spurs could easily sit there and get that, win or not win as many 67 games. So and just be just fine for the playoffs. I don't have them not quite as bold as getting knocked out in the first round. So we'll definitely have to look for our Spurs fans to jump on that.
They're going to bash me in the comments section.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But that's going to wrap us up for the Spurs season preview. We're coming right back to you in just a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and go live with our Golden State Warriors preview. We're going to, basically kind of break them down and kind of do the same thing we just did for the Spurs. But for those that are listening or watching, of course, please go to our YouTube page, comment on the Spurs getting knocked out in the first round. We want to hear some feedback on that. We want you to like the video. We want you to subscribe to the channel, the Unquestionably Raw podcast channel. Go to iTunes. If you are on iTunes, give us a 5-star written review. We need reviews to be able to jump up in the rankings on iTunes. Click subscribe. That way they auto-download automatically. You just put your headphones on and you can listen. But in just about 10 minutes or so, we're going to get going with the Golden State Warriors season preview. So we'll see you in just a bit.